guys? It's Overlord here, back again with another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Outkast Andre 3000 and Big Boy 2-pack as they appeared in the music video for, you guessed it, the song Hey Ya, brought to us by the fine folks over at Super7. This is, of course, a ReAction figure 2-pack. It should be no surprise that that's predominantly what Super7's known for. I mean, sure, they got Ultimates too, but feels like half the ones I want get canceled, so oh well. That said, I am very glad that these exist. There's also a White Stripes 2-pack based off how they look for the album White Elephant, specifically the Seven Nation Army music video, so I am definitely gonna try and get my hands on that at some point. However, this was on sale on Amazon for like half price. It's normally like $50. It was on sale for $25, so to get two of these guys for the price of one is pretty freaking fantastic if you ask me. So without further ado, dear, why don't we cut right to the chase and get into the meat and potatoes of this review and take a look, see at all Outkast have to offer in terms of accessories. For Andre, we get this mic on a stand, which I do actually remember this from the video, funny enough. Him using a microphone like that. And then for Big Boy, silly name, he has this little walkie-talkie remote looking thing. So there you go. And for those of you wondering, Overlord, what in the Sam Hill are you doing with this? We didn't know you were into hip-hop. Well, spoiler alert, I'm not. At least not really. I dabble with some Eminem, and of course, I do like me some new metal, but as far as hip-hop goes, I'm not that big into it. I didn't buy any of the other hip-hop ReAction figures that Super7's put out. As far as I know, they put out Salt and Peppa, and Biggie Smalls, Old Dirty Bastard. I think McFarlane's got a Public Enemy figure. I don't mess with hip-hop like that, but I've always had a soft spot for Outkast, specifically this Hey Ya song, because it came out when I was a wee lad. My late great mother, God rest her soul, used to dance to it. So that's where my soft spot for this band came from. And then sitting up late with my dad watching MTV, you know, when they would play music videos, they would play certain Outkast songs, specifically I like the way you move, da, 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 and stuff like that, which is that song in particular kind of sounds like yacht rock to me, because not for nothing, Outkast isn't hip-hop like a lot of hip-hop that was coming out at the time, because back then the South had something to say, and they came out and made some hip-hop that was a little bit more lighthearted, and it wasn't about dudes taking people out. Granted, heavy metal has a lot of songs about dudes taking people out, but the guys in Cannibal Corpse aren't literally going to go kill somebody with an axe, whereas in hip-hop there are a lot of dudes that have actually shot and killed people. That's why some of them aren't around anymore. So, you know, if you're like me and want something a little bit more PG when it comes to hip-hop, Outkast, I think, is the band for you. And not for nothing, in 2007, when I went to Florida with my the lovely Aunt Tammy, as she's known as on this channel, and her current husband, I went down to Florida to see my family, and one of the pit stops we had to make on the way there was Atlanta, Georgia, I do believe, and I saw the city from above, and it's just as like nutso as you could possibly imagine. It looked like something out of a cartoon or a comic book. It was illuminated in lights. Holy crapola, it looked really, really cool. But I digress. That's enough story time for now. Why don't we talk about these figures? I mean, they're reactions. It's not like this video was going to be very long. Start with Andre. It's funny to have a figure of Andre 3000. Not for nothing, this is the closest thing I'm going to have to a figure of the Professor from Class of 3000, a old school Cartoon Network show. Very underrated in my opinion. But in true ReAction fashion, he's got the 5 POA, head will move, arms will move up and down, The legs will kick forward and back. I always thought he was wearing a suit, like a suit jacket, but he's got like suspenders on, it looks like. This hand can hold stuff, I'm pretty sure. Let me take this walkie-talkie thing and see if that actually goes through there. Yeah, he could totally hold like a separate microphone if you want, but as far as getting this in that hand, it's not happening. You got to use this flat part and kind of slide it in this hand like so, and that's how he holds that, which isn't great, but it is a reaction figure, so what do you expect? So that is Andre 3000 with the little white shoes. Then we have a big boy, or not so big boy. Is that a paradox? Oxymoron? Whatever. He's in a suit here. His little fedora, his shades, or just regular glasses. Same articulation as Andre. His head will move. His arms will move up and down. His legs will kick forward and back. And that's your lot. He's got a fist on one side. Let me see if is that like a straight up fist? Oh no, that's like a grippy hand too. That's like a closed grippy hand, so that makes sense. So you could give them both mics. I think they do both sing. At least they did during their, well, Big Boy sang. Andre sat it out for some reason. Not quite sure why, but then again, Jack White of the White Stripes didn't even perform, so there is that. But during their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Big Boy went up and sang with several guest artists. I have to say, that version of Hey Ya they did wasn't the best. The highlight of that whole thing for me was actually their version of Sorry Miss Jackson with Doja Cat. And I don't even like Doja Cat, but for whatever reason, that was like pretty decent. So yeah, goes to show you don't have to act like a twerp to impress me, I suppose. But shout out to them for getting inducted. I will say, there's a lot of old school hip-hop groups that probably shouldn't be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. In fact, they should probably just call it the Music Hall of Fame at this point, even though the chances of Dio getting in there are slim enough. But there are a lot of old school hip-hop groups that influence a lot of bands from the 2000s that are rock. So, you know, there's kind of a silver lining there. And like I said earlier, that one song that Outkast has, very reminiscent of yacht rock. I don't know what it is, but it just is. So, yeah, South had something to say. They said it, and well, that's what they have to show for it, man. So that's pretty much it. That's Outkast in a nutshell. These figures are cool if you like this group. I like this group, and it was on clearance, so couldn't pass it up. So before we wrap this sucker up, why don't we bring in our two regulars? We got the Mythic Legions, Rather Mandibolith. Never thought I'd have him standing next to a miniature Andre 3000. The things you see here at Overlord Productions. Speaking of which, we have the infamous MK11 Spawn standing next to the Not So Big Boy. And yeah, they're dwarfed because they're reaction figures at 3.75 inch scale. So with that being said, it's time now that we wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and if you're like me and are a pretty big fan of the group or duo, in this case known as Outkast, then this is a definite must-have, especially for the clearance price I got it for at 50% off. However, if you're not into this type of music, this group whatsoever, then this is an easy pass. But I happen to be one of the people that really likes Outkast, despite the fact that I am a pretty hardcore metalhead. Yes, even the Lord of Darkness gets down with a little R&B and soul once in a while, mixed with a little bit of hip-hop. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And until next time, shake it like a Polaroid picture.